Good afternoon. My name is Louise Dawson, and this afternoon I am talking to Oliver Knott, who works for IDL in the UK, I believe. Are you in the UK, Oliver?
We certainly are. We're based in the northwest of England. No one knows where it is, so north of Manchester is what we always say.
Okay, cool. And you are a lead in the Middle East for a piece of software called IDL. Can you tell us a little bit about IDL, please?
Of course I can. So IDL stands for International Dyslexia Learning Solutions. So everything we do has special educational needs at its heart. And we actually offer a portfolio of resources that do various things, mainly focusing on literacy and numeracy. So we actually have free screening software for schools to, early identify who needs support. And then schools can really do whatever they want with that. They can go to the ed sites they need to speak to. They can look at the wide array of resources out there that do fantastic things. What we also provide, though, is literacy and numeracy intervention to actually follow up from those gaps raised, so that schools have that peace of mind. They only need to learn one program, which will actually provide that full intervention package that they need to support their learners immediately, but also long-term into the future.
So would you use this only for children with dyslexia and children you've screened who may have dyslexia, or would you use this across the whole school?
So yeah, great question. We do primarily focus on schools. I didn't really mention that before, but with those with those students, it's not just special educational needs at all. You don't actually have to use the screeners. Maybe from the work you've already done with the student, you know them a lot better than obviously I or the software ever would. You have information about where they're up to, what need they have. So you can actually provide that support tool to everyone in the school. So it could be, obviously I'm coming from a bit of a UK perspective, but a bit relevant. English as a second language is obviously massive in the Middle East. So it really helps with things like that. It really helps with low attainers, high attainers, and people who might just need a little bit of revision and catch up after this, bit of the whirlwind 2 years we've had. Everything's a bit all over the place sometimes. And they need something to sort of provide someone with a sort of a leveling out tool, filling in gaps, bring everyone up to a standardized point. I think that's where we can really excel there.
Okay, so we could use this across the whole school for everyone, especially after COVID and the lockdowns and the gaps that we've seen with students, especially students who have traveled around the world. So it's whole school, it screens for dyslexia, and I think you've got a screener for dyscalculia coming out, is that right?
Yeah, so we actually have both those screeners out now, luckily, so that the schools have the peace of mind for both literacy and numeracy of being able to identify different tendencies for dyscalculia, tendencies for, we don't want to say dyslexia screener as such, it's a bit difficult, bit iffy about that one, but it does definitely break it down to things like auditory processing, those key areas that people want to know, people want to see at a snapshot, especially when it comes to speaking to parents and whoever it might be. So you have that immediately at your fingertips for essentially, everyone in the school. Like we mentioned, there are restrictions on numbers, so you don't have to justify certain students but not others. You can easily see who needs support and then provide them with that support.
Okay. And the content is curriculum content, isn't it? It's not something that you've devised that's separate. I think it does fill those gaps. Yeah,
certainly. So we actually are. We are originally, being from the UK, tailored to that the UK curriculum. So, for example, we have between the ages of 5 and 16, sort of general literacy skills matched against exactly everything schools wanted.
Right.
But then the numeracy was more key stage 1 and 2 focused completely. So it actually is charting their ability against that curriculum directly and monitoring progress as such. Now, we have also launched in the US, and we do a lot of work with US curriculum schools. So there actually is a US version of the resource available, which means any school who wants to use US vernacular, accents, things like that, they can immediately choose what they want. So it is flexible for the user.
Right.
That said, I know a lot of other curriculi, I'm not quite sure what the correct terminology is. They do.
Okay, you're just a literacy person, it's fine.
Exactly. Oh dear. But yeah, the nuances of each individual curriculum, although they're probably not tailored to in exactly the same way as the US and the UK, a lot of the skills, a lot of the core principles covered in the English and the maths are very, very transferable. And we see schools from Indian curriculums, IB curriculums, who do use IDL resources effectively and trust us year after year.
Awesome. Is it cloud-based, web-based, app-based, phones, iPads? Where are you on the technology scale?
Another great question. So essentially how that works is it is cloud-based. So everything will be accessed with an internet connection. That could be in school, that could be at home, that could be on the move, that could be on holiday if your children are really, really dedicated. So essentially, as long as they have Exactly. So as long as they have that internet connection, they can get on computers, Chromebooks, desktops, laptops, also iPads and tablets with our dedicated apps. Now, it's not compatible with phones at the moment. There are reasons for that on the technical side, but be rest assured that the students do have the option to access the software in as a flexible environment as possible.
Amazing. So you wouldn't sell to individual families, though. This is through schools only. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we don't work with parents or home users at the moment. But that said, like the options available to work with schools make things actually a lot cheaper, a lot better for the parents anyway. If they want to ask the school to get involved with it, if they want to spearhead that, it does end up meaning that, especially with the licensing structure we offer, it's so much more effective and cost effective as well to deal with that on a broad basis, covering everyone in the school. So it is reserved for schools and tuition institutions at the moment.
Amazing. What age range are you looking at? Because you mentioned with the numeracy, it was Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, but for your literacy, is it across all ages up to 18, 16?
Great question again. So essentially how that works is literacy is more 5 to 16. So it's covering that full range. And what we do is we baseline students immediately to work out where they should be. Now, they could be a 21-year-old who's got a reading age of 15, for example. They could be a 8-year-old who has a reading age of 11. So, it could be all over the place. It could be really high attainers or low attainers. And the program will give them activities depending upon their ability. So it's not about their age necessarily at all. But that said, when we come to progress monitoring, we will see how they are against what's expected for their age. So we can keep track of that, how they're performing with standardized scores, curriculum comparisons. The numeracy is more 5 to 12 because it's Key Stage 1 and 2 or whatever, the equivalent for America and things like that. But that said, secondary sort of provision, the schools use it all the time. Hundreds of schools use it for those secondary students who might be at a Key Stage 3 level, but are really not actually at that point. And they need something to bring them up so they are ready for it, which is what the tool provides to thousands of schools.
Okay, so they're at that age, but they might not be at that level. So it's not age, it's level appropriate. Okay, no, that's fantastic.
Exactly.
I think that you conducted a study to demonstrate the progress that could be made with students who were falling behind their age level appropriate. Was that study done in Birmingham?
Yeah, so that's just one part of the catalogue of studies we've completed over the last 30 or so years. We've been in the market for 30 years. We're a UK charity, and the work we've done has admittedly mostly been done in the UK. But Birmingham, for example, it's quite a diverse place, different socioeconomic backgrounds. Back in 2018, we did a pilot scheme with about 20 primary schools and 10 secondary schools, asking them to use IDL over a 10-week period, broken down into small sessions, 4 bursts of 15 minutes a week for literacy, similar sort of thing for numeracy. It's just consistent small bursts of usage, again, some at home, some in school, which led to large increases across the board. And that's not just SEN, like I mentioned before. It was used on a broad basis across different year groups, and that was mapped against the Birmingham, I can't remember now, Birmingham City Council literacy toolkit, I think it was in reference to. So again, the full report is on our website, that you can see for information about how that was done, the results shown, but they do speak for themselves. And as I said, it's across the board increases. But it's good that you touched on that, because we do have a large catalogue of evidence of what you should expect. So, for example, it's 26 hours use equals 11-month improvement in reading and spelling ages.
Wow.
Also, 15-minute bursts. We did a study with Lancaster University, one of the top 10 universities in the UK, and it's one 15-minute session leads to a 1.9-day increase in reading and spelling ages.
Wow.
And as those stack up, that's when we see the increases.
Right, that's amazing. That's amazing. I think I have looked at it. I've been through a demonstration with you. I've used it with a couple of children, and I do think it's a really valuable tool that does demonstrate progress. And I think so. I know that the software baselines and then goes for that gap fill and then goes for that improvement. So I do thoroughly rate it. So on my website, I'm going to put a link to the Birmingham study and link to your details and your information. And should people write to you if they would like to have a demonstration and a quotation?
Yeah, so obviously, anyone who wants more information, we do have obviously our website, idlsgroup.com. You're able to find me on LinkedIn. You've got my email address, which is oliver.knott@idlsgroup.com. And obviously Louise as well, who you can speak to, and no doubt we have a fantastic relationship, and anything can be passed on that way if you want more information. So yeah, more than happy to speak to any teachers, any Senkos, anyone who's interested in finding out more. You can trial IDL resources without any obligations to subscribe. So why wouldn't you at least have a look?
Have a look, see what it's there, and that's all free of charge, and then see where you go from there. And I do understand this pricing structure as well, and I do know that it's very affordable and it's very on par with other softwares. So when you were talking just then about levels of children and ages of children and getting them to marry up, you did actually say that a child might be working above their level for their age, which led me to believe we've talked about English additional language, we've talked about SEND, we've talked about neurotypicals, but would this also be a tool which schools could use to stretch and challenge children who may be on the gifted and talented, who can't have individualized lessons and support due to curriculum timings, etc.? Could this be used for gifted and talented children above their level?
Absolutely, Louise. A good point for raising that as well. Essentially, the whole idea with the IDL program is to try and take away pressure from teachers. You don't have time to give one-to-ones to everyone, especially if they're already overperforming. So it might be a case that, if you've got, a bit of it depends on every school, have their own provision, but if you have a little bit of extra time, you can just set someone off on some work and know that they're going to, be challenged and moving through that, in quite a student-led manner. That's when IDL can really excel, because it has the option to stretch the student. If they're working, they're a 6, they're working at 11-year-olds reading age, they will have appropriate content for them automatically without you having to schedule it or administer it. Once that test score is entered, they just have a lesson plan automatically set that they can move through subsequently, and you can sit back and relax a little bit more and watch the progress roll in.
Wouldn't that be lovely? So is there rewards? Do students feel rewarded when they make that progress? Do they get stars? Do they get, and obviously that's different for the younger years and the older years?
Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of positive attitude, positive feeling throughout the program as they move. Even when they're making mistakes, they're always being encouraged. But obviously, as they are moving through, they are completing modules. After each module, there's an option for teachers to provide PDF certificates to them. So that, they've completed a certain module, congratulations, well done. They always get told that at the end of every activity as well. But there are stars. Now, the stars are really good as well. It keeps track of their performance in individual activities, but also KPIs. So in numeracy, for example, you can know whether place value is better than arithmetic, vice versa. The students will be able to have a look every now and then how well they perform in each one. If they've scored like 2 out of 5 stars in some of the questions, they might think, I want to do that again. They have the option to have another go, improve their stars, and obviously there's always that little bit of feeling good when you get the maximum amount of stars. So that's always going on in the background. There's so many mechanisms with which to keep track of progress, but also allow the students to feel like they are being rewarded for the work they do.
That's amazing.
IDL, when I started 2 years ago, it only had the literacy, it only just had the numeracy come out.
Right.
Since then, we've launched 3 resources, including the screeners and our times table resource as well.
Right.
But coming down the line, we have a well-being resource, which is so important at the moment. That should be coming in September. I'm probably going to get told off for giving a date, but essentially, again, that will allow students to obviously, reflect, and talk about all those important things that they need to, and have some support in place as well, and also a science intervention. So the idea is this portfolio will support schools on that broad basis. You only need one program. You only need to learn one program as well. So it is exciting. Watch this space.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. As Oliver said, you can contact him directly. You can contact him through me. We can have a conversation. I can show you some of the software if you don't want to go directly. So talk to me, talk to Oliver, but do talk to somebody and get that free demonstration and free access for a while. Okay, thank you very much for your time, Oliver. Take care, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Louise. Have a good day.